I'm Julia Indik, and I'm an electrophysiologist from the University of Arizona in Tucson. And I'm really pleased today to be interviewing Dr. James Ip from Cornell. We just came from the late-breaking clinical trials where Dr. Ip presented the results of the RAPID trial. Dr. Ip, why don't you give us an overview?
Sure. The RAPID study was a placebo-controlled, double-blinded study of the determining the efficacy of etripamil to terminate spontaneous episodes of PSVT. Patients self-administered the medication at the onset of symptoms and delivered a single dose followed by a repeat dose at 10 minutes later to determine if the PSVT would terminate. The primary efficacy, which was termination at 30 minutes, showed that the medication did work and terminated 64% of episodes within 30 minutes compared to 31% in placebo. So it was very effective. And at the same time, this was the first time the drug was being used as a repeat dose regimen, and that showed that there was additional safety, or persistent safety, as shown in prior trials. There were no episodes of syncope, no episodes of pre-syncope, heart block, really the only major downside was some local nasal irritation and nasal congestion in some patients that they reported. But overall, it's very exciting. And we also found that there was a significant reduction in ED utilization and seeking additional medical intervention with the drug compared to placebo.
Yeah, I was also particularly taken by the reduction in ER visits. And a number needed to treat of about 13 individuals to keep them out of the ER. And also the median time to termination of SVT brought down from about 50 minutes to about I think about
17 minutes. Yeah, it was very short,
very short.
About cut one third the time compared to placebo or termination of PSVT.
Right. Yeah, it's also just amazing that in 30 years, this is the first we have a new drug.
Yes.
Before, we've been limited to just either giving people drugs all the time when people generally do not want to have to take a beta blocker or calcium channel blocker to prevent something that may only be infrequent, or trying to take a larger dose of a drug as well, which certainly didn't terminate within 17 minutes. So this is really quite an amazing and groundbreaking set of trials that you've done. This is just one. Tell me actually, while we're on that, the overview of how etripamil has been studied and future studies for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole etripamil program has evolved through time. The first study was the Node 1 in humans, determining which dose was effective in terminating SVT. So this was published in JACC by Dr. Stambler and others, showed that the 70 milligram dose was actually 87% effective in terminating SVT. But this was induced in the electrophysiology lab. Patients were supine. And so we really wanted to figure out how would patients do with this medication in an outpatient basis. And that led to the first study, which was Node 301. That study looked at that 70 milligram dose because higher doses, one patient had some hypotension at 140 milligrams, so they chose the 70 milligram dose. And they took that to patients to see if they could self-administer their medication on an outpatient, unsupervised fashion. So the Node 301 study showed that there was efficacy termination at 30 minutes of 54%. Compared to 35% with placebo. But since we wanted to catch some additional patients who did not convert, we thought that maybe we could deliver a second dose at 10 minutes. And those are the pharmacokinetic curves I showed in the introductory slide, showing a second peak of plasma concentration, more prolonged concentration. So the thought that could we capture patients who did not terminate with the first dose? And sure enough, the study showed it. 10 minutes later, with an additional repeat optional dosing, we were able to raise that 54% to 64% at 30 minutes and 74% in 1 hour.
Right. I was also struck with how we noticed the curves do come together over time. And really the sweet spot, and I think what patients care about, is get me out of SVT as soon as you can.
Yeah.
And that 30-minute mark, I think, was a very judicious choice of an endpoint. Yeah.
Yes, the other option is, they have to go to the emergency room and get intravenous adenosine.
Right.
We all know that if we give adenosine 6 milligrams, if it doesn't work, we give 12 milligrams.
And everyone always remembers when they got adenosine.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Where does the future hold? What else are you investigating now?
Well, there are ongoing analysis of the open label phase. Node 302, which I forgot to mention, was an open label of the single dose regimen used in Node 301. That actually showed quite a good higher conversion rate, and with time, some patients were able to give their dose, self-dose, up to 11 times. And there seemed to be an overall trend towards fewer side effects, or fewer complaints at least, with repeat dosing, while maintaining effectiveness. And so the thought is perhaps patients, since they know that the drug works and they know that they anticipate the nasal irritation, perhaps it's less discomforting with time. And they'd certainly take a shot of medication in the nose rather than having to go to the emergency room.
Oh, sure, yeah. But it's interesting because I was thinking to myself how we put that calculus in our head. Am I willing to put up with some irritation? Maybe I won't need to go to the ER. Do I want to just get an ablation and get this dealt with? And I can't climb inside of everybody's head, but I'm curious how that's going to turn out.
Yeah, I think it's a discussion with the patient. I mean, now that we have this tool, at least when I have patients, when we were enrolling in this study, I mentioned the risks and benefits of catheter ablation versus watchful waiting, taking a maintenance medication, and taking a pill in the pocket. I always felt somehow a little bit uncomfortable with that, and that you know that it's going to take a while when bioavailability it's available after ingestion of the medication. It may take 30 minutes, 60 minutes to start acting on the AV node. And then the earlier studies that you had pointed out in the discussion showed some adverse events by taking an oral pill in the pocket approach.
Right, and they were really just so underpowered. Really only one of the studies, I think, took people out to self-administration, not just in the EP lab being induced with SVT.
Yes.
So anyway, I just want to congratulate you. This is an amazing study and really is just adds a whole new class of drug to our armamentarium.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.